KREM 2 News begins now.
Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus. I'm Tim Pham. This is your KREM 2 News Week in Review. Join us as we take a closer look at some of the biggest stories in the Inland Northwest this past week.
This morning, crowds are returning to Bourbon Street as the investigation into the street's deadly attack continues. Authorities are now saying the man who drove a truck through crowds celebrating the new year on Wednesday acted alone. New information revealing just after midnight on the morning of the attack, Shamsuddin Jabbar placed 2 improvised explosive devices in coolers in the French Quarter. The investigation into this attack will likely take a while because of a large amount of evidence across 2 states. There are 3 big things investigators will be taking a look at. First, our sister station in New Orleans was told by experts that the FBI is likely going to reverse engineer the bombs that were found in the French Quarter and in the attacker's car to figure out how they were built. Second, they'll be looking at his electronics, combing through the 3 cell phones and 2 laptops that were seized, all to get more insight into his motive and planning for the attack. The FBI is also currently combing through hours of surveillance video, trying to track his movements leading up to the attack. And third, the physical evidence will help tell the story. That's what's found in his truck, his home in Houston, and the home rented in New Orleans, which we already know included bomb-making material. And the FBI did release new photos. Now, this is our first look at the suspect in the hours before the attack on Bourbon Street, and also a photo of a cooler that the FBI says had a bomb inside and was placed in the French Quarter before the attack. It's been just over 48 hours since the attack, and 14 families are mourning the loss of loved ones. At this point, officials have been able to identify 10 of the 14 people killed, including 27-year-old mom Nicole Perez and 25-year-old Matthew Tenedorio. Now, he worked at the Superdome, our sister station in New Orleans, spoke with his mother, who says the feelings are unimaginable.
Nothing prepares you for anything like this, losing your child. And, you know, you hope you can hold on to them till they get old and you die and they live on, but that's not God's will sometimes. And you just have to accept it and be strong for other people.
Kathy encourages all families to hold on to their loved ones and cherish every second you have left. There are still 4 victims whose identities have yet to be confirmed. Restaurants in Houston, where the attacker is from, are standing for New Orleans and are working to support those directly impacted by the tragedy. Restaurant owners saying they are collecting donations to send to charities and victims' families.
Seeing that atrocious terrorist activity that happened in New Orleans, they just stepped up to the plate.
This terrorist individual, he's not Houston. He doesn't represent Houston. We are Houston. Let's show them what Houston is about. Everybody all right?
After the New Year's Day Cybertruck explosion in front of a Trump hotel in Las Vegas, new details are emerging about the man investigators believe was responsible. Police say 37-year-old Matthew Levelsberger, an active-duty U.S. Army soldier, shot himself in the head before the truck went up in flames.
I'm comfortable calling it a suicide with the bombing that occurred immediately thereafter.
His body identified with the help of DNA, a military ID and passport found inside the truck alongside multiple guns. Investigators are also piecing together a timeline. They say Levelsberger rented the Tesla in Denver, Colorado while on leave Saturday. Using charging station data, they tracked his journey to Las Vegas. At one point, the vehicle takes a lap through the valet of the Trump International Hotel before returning, parking, and then seconds later, the Cybertruck explodes. According to authorities, Levelsberger, a highly decorated Army Special Forces Master Sergeant, had consumer-grade fireworks and fuel accelerants in the vehicle.
The level of sophistication is not what we would expect from an individual with this type of military experience.
Motive, still a question.
It's not lost on us that it's in front of, of the Trump building, that it's a Tesla vehicle, but we don't have information at this point that definitively tells us or suggests it was because of this particular ideology.
In Colorado Springs, authorities searched the suspect's home. Relatives tell CBS News Levelsberger's wife hadn't heard from him in days. Jared Hill, CBS News.
All throughout the day, people living in an apartment building here say they weren't able to go back in their homes. It's something some residents we've spoken with say was especially challenging, as they say communication while everything was happening was limited.
At no point did I get clearance to leave or clearance to come back.
Melissa Cheney has lived in the Basalt Ridge apartment complex for almost 3 years. She was at work when she says her neighbor contacted her, saying the apartment building was evacuated. Airway Heights police were assisting with a search warrant out of Stevens County when they entered an apartment in Cheney's same unit. That unit was the only one evacuated. Police say they found a suspicious device in the apartment they were searching. Cheney says police locked down just her building, forcing neighbors to leave their homes for several hours. This kept Cheney from getting her son's medication.
He's epileptic, and so he has to have his meds. But if I'm willing to put my life on the line for 1 minute to run upstairs and grab his meds, then why is it not okay?
Cheney relied on her neighbor and social media to find out if it was safe to come back.
That's probably like the scariest part, is like no actual people told me what I had to do.
Airway Heights police allowed residents to return to their homes at 5:30 p.m. They say the investigation is still ongoing.
When you have a special needs kid on meds, you don't get probably. You get, I need to know.
As she says her and her family are trying to move forward from the evacuation, saying communication under an emergency situation is key. Tonight, it wasn't exactly clear what the suspicious device was. We've reached out to Airway Heights police to get more information, but have not heard back. In Airway Heights, Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
The 737-800 made here in Renton has a strong safety history. But South Korean officials have announced today that they will be inspecting all 737-800s that are in their country. An aviation expert told us, though, that they don't believe that this will have a big impact on Boeing. But of course, in recent history, Boeing has faced a series of setbacks, like the blown-off door plug in January, and 2 737 MAX crashes in 2018 and 2019, which took the lives of a combined 346 people. Aviation expert Scott Hamilton says, though, we shouldn't jump to conclusions in this South Korea crash.
They will look into whether or not there might have been pilot error. They will look into whether there's a maintenance issue with the airplane.
South Korean officials said the pilot radioed Mayday because of a bird strike. Hamilton says a bird strike, though, shouldn't cause a crash. A team of U.S. federal investigators will help South Korea's investigation. The airline that was involved, it's the first and largest South Korean low-cost airline. Boeing says that they're in contact with the airline and are standing by to support them in any ways that they might need. And this morning, Boeing shares dropped about 3.5%. Reporting in Renton, I'm Drew Andre, King 5 News.
The FAA is investigating this near miss between an airplane chartered by GU and an Atlanta-bound Delta flight. You can see this all played out live on an airline watch stream Friday afternoon. The FAA says air traffic controllers told that GU plane to hold short before crossing the runway at LAX, but as you can see, that didn't happen as that Delta plane comes through for takeoff. You can hear those air traffic controllers call for the Key Lime airplane to stop as it rolled towards the runway and that departing aircraft. The FAA tells KREM 2 News the jet never crossed the runway's edge line. We did also reach out to Gonzaga. A spokesperson says the school plans to review the FAA's investigation report as soon as it's available. GU says basketball team members on that plane were unaware just how close a call this was at the time. Right now, there's no estimation on how long the federal investigation could take. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Today, a Whitman County judge read a petition for a protection order against Chief Opgenorth by a woman who is accusing him of domestic violence. KREM 2 first reported the chief's administrative leave last week, with Pullman police not confirming the reason as to why or how long he's been on leave. We're choosing to conceal the identity of the woman accusing Chief Opgenorth of domestic violence. Today, in what was a scheduled protection order hearing, Chief Opgenorth's lawyer, Mark Conrad, requested a continuance for the hearing so they can have time to prepare, as he says they have not had time to do so. The woman in this case waived her right to an attorney today. Judge Libby granted Conrad's request for continuance, leaving a temporary protection order still in effect. Judge Libby also says Chief Opgenorth complied with an order to surrender his firearms and other weapons. A date is set for a next hearing on January 8th at 8:30. Now, Pullman Police Commander Aaron Brashear says any questions regarding Chief Opgenorth are to be directed to the law firm Menke Jackson Buyer out of Yakima. KREM 2 reached out to find out more information, but has not heard back. Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
Spokane police have used deadly force almost as many times this year than in all of 2022 and 23 combined.
It has been a very violent period over the last couple of weeks.
That's former interim Spokane Police Chief Justin Lundgren describing the first weeks of 2024. By mid-February, Spokane officers had already used lethal force 3 times, including killing 2 men on the same day. Sunday's fatal shooting marks the 6th time this year Spokane officers have used deadly force. In all of 2022 and 23 combined, Spokane police killed 7 people. Right now, deadly force incidents are investigated by a team of other law enforcement agencies. But that's changing under state law and a new state agency.
The manner in which they're done remains the same. The important part is who is doing them. And the watchword on that is independence, that this is a truly independent organization that is not connected to any police agencies, not connected to any prosecuting attorney's office.
Roger Rogoff heads the Office of Independent Investigations, formed by the legislature in 2021. Its investigative teams will staff no current law enforcement, hailed as a first in the nation.
And the public can weigh in on what they think and can see what happened and have some trust that the process is working the way it should.
The office just began its first investigations this month, but only in Region 1 on the west side of the state. Eventually, OII will have investigative hubs statewide, including in Spokane.
I can tell you that we will be expanding into other regions in 2025. I can't tell you which regions and precisely when, because it's completely dependent on resources and primarily where we can hire and find investigators.
For now, Spokane's own investigative team of regional law enforcement is looking into each deadly shooting. Those cases will then go to the county prosecutor, who determines if the shootings were justified or not. Now, I did ask SPD if this could prompt any changes to training or policy on use of force. A spokesperson with the department says each incident is reviewed by a deadly use of force board, but that doesn't happen until the county prosecutor makes a determination. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Amelia's parents, Nick and Amanda, are still processing their grief after the accident that killed their daughter. They're not ready to comment on the suspect's arrest. Today, Idaho State Patrol is identifying a suspect in the crash. 61-year-old Rick Gross was booked into the Bonner County Jail for multiple charges related to the crash, including vehicular homicide and possession of methamphetamine. Idaho State Police shared this photo of his arrest. Investigators say on November 22nd, Gross was trying to pass multiple vehicles on Highway 95 in Bonner County when he hit another car head-on. The crash killed 5-year-old Amelia Coro and injured her mom and brother. The family was on the way to a hockey tournament at the time. KREM 2 managed to speak to the family a few weeks ago, and they say the loss is something they're still struggling to process.
Truly taking it with the mindset of one day at a time, one moment at a time. Allow yourself that time to grieve if you can, and just make it to the next day.
ISP is still investigating the crash. Anyone that has video footage or information is urged to contact them. Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
Both of the families of Amelia Coro as well as Rick Gross were in attendance today at the motion hearing. This comes after Gross's arrest on counts of reckless driving, vehicular manslaughter, possession of methamphetamine, and possession of drug paraphernalia. Craig Zanetti, Gross's private lawyer, asked the judge to reduce the bond amount, which was first set at $500,000. Zanetti also asked that Gross could be on house arrest at his home in Boundary County instead of being in the Bonner County Jail. Zanetti noted that Gross is an honorably discharged veteran who has previously suffered from a traumatic brain injury. Antonetti highlighted to the judge that Gross is in a wheelchair, stating that he needs care from his family. These conditions were agreed to by Bonner County Judge Jensen. Jensen said Gross must be monitored at all times and can only leave his home for court proceedings and medical services. His bond amount was dropped to $250,000. And here at KREM, we just got off the phone with the family reacting to the motion hearing. We heard from Amelia's uncle, Philip Sears, who told us one of the most upsetting factors regarding the request for a reduced bond was that Gross was late for an eye appointment. My niece died because Mr. Gross thought it was more important to be on time to an eye appointment. We as a family are very upset that we finally found out what was so important, that he had to pass multiple people, was because he was late for an eye appointment. And as of right now, the arraignment is set for January 21st. At Bonner County Courthouse, Regan Gallo, KREM 2 News.
The office of President of the United States.
Jimmy Carter completed a single term in the Oval Office, but fulfilled a lifetime of service to fellow Americans and people around the world.
Carter's style was to get to know families and to soften people as human beings, whoever they may be.
That approach helped seal the historic Camp David Accords during his presidency, and Carter carried it with him on humanitarian missions abroad and at home, including building houses for Habitat for Humanity.
I have this freedom to do things that I like to do and that an official of the U.S. government or the United Nations cannot do.
U.S. flags are flying at half-staff for 30 days in Carter's honor. If health and circumstances permit, all former U.S. presidents are expected to attend Carter's state funeral in Washington next week, with January 9th declared a national day of mourning. The public tributes will begin with an observance here at the Carter Center in Atlanta, where Americans are already turning out to pay their respects to the 39th president.
When you see the flowers, you see the gifts, it's just a good reminder that when you're a good, decent person and do the right thing, that people remember you well.
The way that he thinks about service is something that, I've always looked up to and admired.
The Carter Center was a passion project working to advance human rights, promote peace, and fight disease while influencing U.S. policy.
I carry and they carry in their hearts the principles that the Carters live by: human dignity, human rights, freedom, democracy, elections, and alleviation of suffering.
Carter's journey will end where it began, in Plains, Georgia, where he will be privately laid to rest alongside his wife outside their home. Cristian Benavides, CBS News, Atlanta.
Yeah, I've been here all afternoon downtown at Riverfront Park. People are very excited for New Year's Eve. They're having fun at the skate ribbon. And if you are still at home and you're planning to come down at Riverfront Park later tonight, we have all the details you need to know. Fireworks at Spokane's Clock Tower will be at 9 p.m. sharp. I got details from the Pyro Spectacular team, who has put on the fireworks show in Spokane for several years, to talk details on the fiery fun.
Highlighting the clock tower, which is my goal every year when we come down here, is I want to highlight the clock tower because that's the center of Riverfront Park. There's well over 1,500 shots, effects in the sky.
And earlier this afternoon, I heard all about New Year's resolutions, especially from people across both state and county lines.
To get married and to move over here. I plan on getting married in one of the ski resorts over the one near Idaho.
I want to start doing yoga.
Nice, okay.
I want to get better at basketball. I want to do well in school and travel.
Resolution is to make varsity baseball as a freshman.
My New Year's resolution is to read a lot more.
And it's not too late to join in on the fun. Again, everything starts at 9 p.m. tonight for fireworks. That is prompt, so go ahead, put a coat on, it's chilly, and get down here. In Spokane, Regan Gallo, KREM 2 News.
Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus for a look at some of the biggest news stories of the past week. For the most current news throughout the weekend, you can watch our latest newscast right here on KREM 2 Plus. Just look for them in the bottom navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.